You are listening to the 79 West podcast series, recorded in Pittsboro, North Carolina. We hope you enjoy.
All right, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your business?
Sure. My name is Lee Shanklin, founder of Shanklin Wealth Planning and wealth advisor with Raymond James Financial Services. So my business can be described in two parts. The first part is going to be the planning side of things, where we take a deep dive for clients into the core areas of financial planning. Then the second part is asset management, where we implement the ideas and then we discuss the financial plan to make sure clients have the best opportunity for their desired outcome.
Cool. So what drew you to this co-working space and how has it shaped your work experience?
So the co-working space was a great fit for me. So last year I decided to leave my previous firm and start my own financial planning firm or practice. And so 79 West became a really good plug and play, a really good fit for me to be able to just come in with my team and be able to get right to work and not have to worry about trying to find a space and all the things that come with leasing a space of your own.
Gotcha. What problem does your business solve and what inspired you to start it?
So I think financial literacy is the biggest thing. I think many people are lacking the time, the desire, the knowledge to manage their own financial plan. I think there's a tremendous need for people to partner with a financial professional to help them reduce the risk of making a critical mistake.
So you kind of talked about the risks and how your business has solved problems, but what are some values that drive your business to that decision making?
Yeah, so I think I was told a long time ago to only give advice that you'd be comfortable with if it was published in the paper. So I try to give advice that I'm not going to have to explain later on. I'm not going to have to make excuses for later on. So when I'm talking to you and I give you guidance on what you should do in your portfolio or give you guidance on what you should do in your plan, I believe it's the right decision for you. And I wholeheartedly believe that we're making good choices for you.
Cool. What's a belief or philosophy that has helped shape your approach to success?
So I don't mind challenging the norms. I don't mind being a little bit different at times. And so a good example of that would be the 4% withdrawal rate for retirement. So while these are really good rules of thumb for people, I think it's rarely the right advice for individuals. So I don't mind diving into the details and finding the right answer for people and challenging just what the standard belief is.
Okay. How do you define success? Not just financially, but in terms of impact and fulfillment.
So I think success is a day-to-day feeling. I don't think you cross the line and then all of a sudden you feel successful. There's days that I feel like I have it all together, and then there's days I feel like I'm a mile away in a particular area. So I think it's just about doing the best that you can do each and every day.
Kind of the mindset, like just be better than you were the day before.
Try to. Yeah.
There you go. So I'm going to move on to the community and collaboration portion of these questions. Just to start, how has being part of this co-working space contributed to your business's growth or mindset?
Yeah, so I spent 14 years in an office where it was just me and my assistant, and I was in my office with my head down. She was in her space with her head down, and we just didn't really have a lot of interaction. And so I think being in this space has allowed us to just kind of come out of our shell a little bit, to be just more talkative in the community and to get to know people. So I think the space has been great for that, to be able to blossom a little bit and just networking.
Sure. And speaking of networking, have you collaborated with any of the tenants here? And if so, how?
Yeah, I have. And so I think that every individual should have a financial team. And the team is the financial advisor, it's a CPA, and it's attorney. And we've got all three here at 79 West. And so we've been able to work with the teams that are here and have clients just refer them right down the hall if they have a CPA need or an estate planning need. So I think we've certainly been able to do that.
I never really thought about that, actually. That's pretty cool that,
we're a one-stop shop.
Yeah, go ahead, down the hall, actually. So what's something you think businesses can do better when it comes to fostering a sense of community?
Yeah, so I'm guilty of this, but the answer is to come out of our offices once in a while and spend some time in the common areas and talk to each other. I mean, that's what it's really all about, is getting to know each other on a bit more personal level than just hey, you're an estate attorney or you're a CPA, and we're all people behind the scenes. So just get to know each other a little bit more.
Okay, cool. So this next section makes me laugh because the title is kind of ridiculous, but I am curious. It's challenges and war stories. So jumping right in, every entrepreneur or business leader has a defining challenge. What was yours?
Yeah, I think war stories is probably right. So I think in my particular case, it's just overcoming anxiety. I think when you're talking to people about money, it's an anxious time for a lot of people. They're not comfortable when they come in. And getting started in the business 15 years ago, I was younger. I was out, knocking on doors. I was out meeting people in the community. So there are certainly a lot of war stories with that. But just overcoming the anxiety to be able to talk to people about money was a big one.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a saying, like the 3 things you don't talk to people about or you don't ask questions about are like politics, financials, and religion, right?
That's it.
That's the 3.
Yeah.
And one of them is your whole business.
Yeah. We're one of the 3 for sure. Yeah.
Okay, understood. Can you share a moment where you thought you might not make it and how you pushed through?
Yeah. So I started, as I mentioned, 15 years ago, almost 16 now, in 2010. So I built my business knocking on doors. I literally drove my car around to neighborhoods, got out and knocked on doors up and down the street. So I did that for probably 3 or 4 years. Wow. So during that time, as we just talked about in the last question, there's a lot of anxiety, just a lot of self-doubt, a lot of can I make it, a lot of, just a lot of different things that go through your head when you're out knocking on doors. So there was advice that came early on in my career, and it said this is a fantastic career, but the only way to mess it up is to quit. And so each day it was just, I'm just not going to quit. I'm just going to go do it one more day, just one more day and one more day. And so there were a lot of days you don't think you're going to make it. A lot of times you think you had something that was going to come in from a business standpoint that just never happened. And so there's just a lot of rejection in this business, and it's a high turnover. But if you can push through the other side, it's pretty good.
Okay. Well, you kind of answered this, but I'll give you an opportunity to see if you want to add anything. You said that a big lesson to get you through adversity was not quitting, right? Just don't quit. Would you say that that's probably the biggest lesson you've been taught, or is there one that tops that or equally matches it?
I think you have to be appreciative of adversity. So I don't think I would be where I'm at today without the adversity that I faced over the last 15, 16 years. So every business deal that doesn't go your way, or every client that decides to take a different route, those are all learning opportunities. And if you just walk right in and, hey, here's a business that's up and running, all you have to do is sit there and drive it. It's a little bit different than, hey, I started from scratch and I built this on my own and I've got all the hard knocks to prove it. So I think adversity, it's not a reason to quit, it's a reason to learn. Okay. And that's just been my approach over the years.
There you go. That's a good answer. All right, on to the next section, industry insights and thought leadership. So we're going to find out what that means together.
Okay.
What's a major misconception people have about your industry?
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I feel like misconceptions usually have a negative connotation, but I feel like it's just another word for like misinformation. And for me, I don't know a ton about wealth management. So I guess it would be that you guys maybe don't want to deal with or take clients with smaller bank accounts.
Okay.
Maybe?
I don't know. I think that's probably one, and we'll kind of get to that as this conversation goes on. I think we'll address the smaller clients or ones that don't have all the assets right away. I think fees are probably the biggest misconception. So in our business, the typical way to charge is just based on assets under care. So you'll go into a financial advisor's office and they'll say, okay, you've got X amount of dollars, we're going to charge you 1% based off of that. So that's not the misconception. The misconception is how do we add value? And so I think as an industry as a whole, we do a very poor job of charging for the value that we deliver. Okay. So the value that we deliver is not by managing the assets. There's so much more to it than that. So it may be, you call and say, hey, I want to help my kids buy a house. Can you help me figure out how to do that? Or, hey, can you help me figure out if I have enough life insurance? Can you help me figure, there's all these problems that we're solving. And we don't necessarily charge for the value that we're bringing in solving those problems. We have kind of a blanket way of charging, which I think is not very good.
Understood. what's a trend in your industry that excites you right now? And I guess, does wealth management have trends?
It does.
Yeah, just like everything else. Okay.
Yeah, it does. And so,
tell me about that.
I mean, if you think about the trends that have happened over the years, if you were to walk into a financial advisor's office, 30 years ago, it would have been a stockbroker's office. What you were paying for there was for somebody to give you a good investment idea. So whether it be, hey, buy this stock or buy this bond, there wasn't a lot of financial planning that came along with things. So the industry moved away from that because that's a commission-based approach.
Right.
And so they said, well, there's a conflict of interest there. And there is. If I call you and say, hey, I think you should buy XYZ stock, oh, and by the way, I get paid $300 for you to do that. There's an immediate conflict of interest. So the industry started going towards more of a fee-based model, which is what we just talked about. Right. Okay, you've got X amount of dollars, we're going to charge you 1% based off of those dollars. So that's one trend that's been happening over the last 20, 30 years. Now, the one that's going from here is we realize that maybe that's not the right way to charge because we're not charging for the right value. So now I think the trend and what I'm excited about is moving more towards a fee-for-service model. So as you're talking about, somebody with maybe a smaller account or just getting started in life, typically those folks have not had access to wealth advisors because you come in, oh, well, you don't meet my minimum, so I can't help you.
Right.
Well, in a fee-for-service model, I can help you. You can say, hey, I need help figuring out how much to put in my 401k. I need to know what estate documents I need to have in place. I need to know how much life insurance I need when I'm starting a young family. Okay. And I can do that as a fee-for-service, and you don't have to necessarily move $500,000 to me for me to give you the time of day.
Right.
So that's the trend that I'm excited about, is being able to serve more people just on a fee-for-service model, which I think does charge a fee for the value that we bring versus the way we're currently doing it.
Okay, well that's very interesting actually, because you think of, like I said, I think of wealth management and I'm like, okay, big accounts, large, stakeholders, stuff like this, and but yet I also feel like this younger generation has just as many, if not more, questions about how to set themselves up financially. Yeah. So that's good to hear that.
And also do-it-yourself investors. I mean, you think about, if you go on Instagram at all and look up about investing, it's all about, well, just buy index funds and don't pay a fee. Yeah. And that could be accurate in a way, but even those investors that are do-it-yourself investors still might need some advice on other aspects of a financial plan. Okay. Building a portfolio is only one aspect of financial planning. Okay. And so you may find joy and be able to do it yourself as far as putting together a portfolio, but you may not understand power of attorney documents. You may not understand life insurance. You may not understand how much to put into an investment to have the time value of money work for you. So those are things that we can charge for separately, and you can still do your own investing. Right. So we can access quite a bit more people that way.
Right. Huh. Good to know. Let's see. Okay, here we go. If you could give one piece of advice to someone looking to break into your field, what would that be?
Yeah, so this is another area that I have found interesting over the years is, so to be licensed to be a financial advisor, there's several tests and exams that you have to pass. But my opinion is just because you pass an exam doesn't mean that you're a financial advisor. So I think financial advisors are created over time through years of experience. So every client meeting that I've been in, I carry that experience with me to the next client meeting, and it's just a compounding nature. So if you've got no experience, then you've got no basis for giving advice. So my ideal way to enter the business would be to join a team and work as an understudy. So maybe you come in and be a paraplanner, or maybe you can be a junior advisor to where maybe you're doing some of the back end work, but your work is getting tested by the senior advisor. So I think joining a team is a great way to enter the business. I think just coming in, being a financial advisor right off the street is a very difficult proposition.
Yeah, probably don't have the file to back you up, and that can be hard when someone's trusting you with something as valuable as money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to have that conversation, especially when people are uncomfortable with it anyways.
Interesting. Okay, good to know. So we're moving on now to brand awareness and future vision, which I know is something that you've been talking about recently. So I'm going to jump right in. What makes your brand unique, and how do you want people to receive it? Yeah,
so I think just working through a process and I think everybody would say that they have a process, but I think understanding that, to me, there's no right or wrong answers in this business. So you come in with a financial problem or a life problem, there's no direct way to get to an answer. It's more of a choose your own adventure. Okay. And so what we do is we talk through that with clients and make sure that first of all, we see the different paths that they could take. And my job is not a financial doer. I can't do it for you. But what I can do is say, okay, well, path A is going to take you to this place, path B is going to take you to this place, and there may be path C and D and on and on. But my job is to advise you on how to get there and how to make the best decision. So I would say that as far as a brand, we're not very cold in meetings. I don't like to be cold and sterile and, okay, we got 45 minutes and we got to get to the end. And I just want to sit down and talk with people and explore the ideas and the avenues that are out there. So that's what I would hope people would see in meeting with us.
Cool. What's next for you in your business? Any exciting projects on the horizon?
Well, I've always got too many ideas, and so I always try to balance, the number of ideas I have with how many that I actually execute. But I'm excited about challenging the norms. I'm excited about creating new ways to add value for clients and new ways for them to, back to the fee part of this, ways that when people come in and they have a service with Shanklin Wealth Planning that they know exactly what they've paid for and there's a deliverable at the end. I don't think that's the case in all financial advisor offices. So my goal and what I'm excited about is to get to a place to where we have that and just challenge the norm of the way people are doing business.
Okay, cool. I like that answer. I think it's important to keep challenging what we see as these constructs and what we should be doing, because at some point, a lot of people like to use the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. But also, what's the point if you can make something better, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a great way of putting it, because I think there's a lot of people that are doing that. It's just, hey, here's the free lunch. This is the way we're going to do it. It's the way we've always been doing it. And I just don't work that way. I'm always looking to evolve and to try to find a new way to do things. And so that's what keeps me that's what drives me and keeps me going is just trying to find a new way.
Yeah, I hear you. So how can listeners connect with you and support what you're doing? Do you have any social media? Do you have any websites?
The website is up. It has been up. Social media, I'm not very good at.
Yeah.
I'm working on getting better. That's one of the things that I'm trying to challenge myself on.
Sure.
I love a phone call.
Yeah.
just give me a phone call and schedule a meeting, or let's just have a 15-minute conversation to see if there's a good fit or a way that I can add some value.
Mm-hmm. I remember the time recently when we were trying to actually get this scheduled, you said, "Now, why'd you email me?" And I was like, "I don't know. How else am I supposed to contact you?" You go, "By the phone, in person, just like this," So it kind of it's like a testament to just how personable you are, I think.
Yeah, catch me downstairs. That's a better way to do it than emailing me.
I gotcha. Yeah, I know, because then you got to do the whole cordial "good afternoon." Waste time.
Yeah.
All right, so this is our last 3 questions. This is part of the fun and personality-driven portion of our list here, so we'll see if we can have some fun with it. If you had to describe your business as a movie, what would it be and why?
I can think of maybe 10 movies that I've seen in my life. I'm just not a movie person.
Okay.
So I know that it's not Wolf of Wall Street. So that's
take that one out.
Yeah. So that I know that's not it. But I don't have a good movie. I've always watched sports and I've watched sitcoms and I've watched other things, but movies have just not been my thing.
Sitcoms are also my thing. So when it comes down to I'm a show. I like to watch shows. I love series and stuff. Yeah. So I was trying to think. I'm like, the stereotype is Wolf of Wall Street, but that movie is really not a lot about wealth planning. It's really quite the opposite. It's how to not do good at that.
Well, as we were talking about the way things happened 30, 40 years ago, then that's what you get on Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. Well, good that new trends are coming, right?
Yeah. The trends are in the favor of the clients for sure.
Good. Yeah, because that looked rough. What's one productivity hack or daily habit you swear by?
Movement.
Yeah.
So we all sit way too much.
Agreed.
And we can get stuck in our chairs. Yeah. And I try to get up and walk around the office. I don't know if you ever kind of look in from the windows. I'm always pacing around in there.
Sure.
I try to get outside, just try to exercise as much as I can. So movement's got to be it.
There you go. Yeah, that is important. I think I try and wear my Apple Watch or whatever to tell me, and it'll be like, get up.
Yeah.
You've been sitting for like 2 hours, and
How many
it is
steps you
helpful. I don't know. I think I'm at like 6,000 a day. I've been running up and down. Yeah, 5,822.
All right. I'm not tracking today.
That's good. It's rainy, so
But well, I just don't have my
Oh, you don't have the right
tracking
one?
watch on.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah, my body can tell me if I've made enough or not.
There you go. Yeah, you have the self-regulation
yeah,
now.
Yeah, you know.
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, and probably one of the more interesting answers I bet you'll come up with today. If you could work alongside any entrepreneur or business leader, and I'm going to add dead or alive to this, who would it be and why?
So maybe it's not all that interesting.
No. Okay.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of really good CEOs. I mean, we live in an area where there's a ton of businesses. If you just look around, RTP. But I think what I would be more interested in is sitting alongside a really good coach. I'd want to. Yeah, at one of the colleges we've got some of the best coaches that have ever lived.
Right.
So I just heard a speech from Coach K. I think it'd be really cool to hang out with him for a little bit. Over at NC State, you got Wes Moore winning a ton of games as the ladies basketball coach.
Yeah.
So I think it's just to see how coaches not only put together a game plan, but also motivate the young. I said young people, but motivate the college kids to be able to go out there and execute a game plan. I think that'd be really cool.
All right. Well, I mean, you said it wasn't going to be interesting, but that was not what I was expecting. So, to me, interesting.
Okay, good.
But anyways, that brings us to the end of our little questionnaire list. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we're good.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We encourage you to follow us at 79 West Hub to learn more about our space, our tenants, and our story.